Our story today starts with this scam email purporting to be from the Director of Operations, from the Directorate of Project Development of somewhere, sponsored by the Ministry of National Development. The subject of the email is, "Can you handle this project?" Well, can I? Let's find out. Scambaiting again. The sender of the email says his name is Evans Afwebu. He claims that he was halfway through embezzling some funds last year with a contact from the United States, singular, but that contact suddenly disappeared. A likely story. So I think what we're going to do with this scammer is to try to hand him off continually to another contact. Let's get to work. So he asks, 1. Can you handle this project? 2. Can I give you this trust? I replied, I can handle about half of that, I think. He said, thanks for your quick response to my mail. Could you please explain what you meant by handling about half of that? I replied, I noted that the grant is for experienced farmers, ranchers and the like. I'm only about halfway through my accreditation process and not fully qualified, so I'm not ready to take on a full project such as this. Perhaps I could partner with someone else so as to share the burden equally. He ignored that and pressed on with a standard opener, saying he was convinced I would not disappoint him. Bless, because disappointing him is my explicit objective here. And asking me for my contact details and passport, etc., you know, the sort of stuff you should never share with a complete stranger on the internet. I pressed on and said, many thanks for confirming that I do not need to do this alone. He had, of course, confirmed no such thing. I've engaged the assistance of my close friend, Merton, who I've copied in on this email. Please feel free to introduce yourself to Merton before we get started on the details of this business. Merton Snurden is, of course, another of my scambaiting email addresses. The scammer carried on trying to progress the scam with me and sent what is undoubtedly a pre-written template email, at length assuring me the project was 100% risk-free, demanding absolute confidentiality and also demanding my 100% commitment, providing his supposedly official ID as proof of his good faith and sincerity, and again asking for my own details and documents. So, from my Merton Snurden scambaiting email address, I wrote, I'm going to be honest with you. Manuel's an idiot and he'll just make a mess of this business. Please tell him the deal is off. Come back to me and we'll sort this out, just between you and me. Showing signs of confusion already, he wrote back to Merton with another templated email, but this paragraph was handwritten, saying, since you confirmed we can both do this, well, this is fine by me, but I want to make it clear to you that you friend Manuel is not an idiot, but a good friend. Well, since you said I should keep it out of him, I will, but the truth must be told. Merton replied, listen, Evan, Manuel needs to be left out of this, or things will not go well for either of us. Do what needs to be done. I'm not kidding. If you insist on having him involved, I'm out. In an email confusingly titled, I can't agree less, my friend, he paradoxically agreed completely with Merton, saying, this is not a case of selfishness, but sincerely what matters most to me at this point is to see this deal started with already, transacted and making sure that this deal sails through successfully without hitches, as this money is my life. If your friend was capable of dealing with it, he would certainly not have involved you. 3, they say, is a crowd. It is only logical that I completely agree with all you say. To this end, therefore, you have my word, Mr. Merton. You and I will 100% do it without involving your friend nor any other persons, please. Neither will I let him know that I am now transacting it with you. You also, on your part, please cover your end and make sure neither he nor any other persons know about this. You will understand that letting him or any other persons know about the arrival of the funds will be counterproductive. I don't want us to risk this fund, please, as it is my only hope of reward after several years of meticulous service. To move on, I advise you to send your full details, including your bank account details, where the funds can be safely transferred to enable our lawyer continue with the transaction processing, please. I urgently do wait urgent response. Manuel was asking, have you heard anything from my friend Merton? He did not answer my emails, so I wonder if he's out of town or something like that. The scammer said, I have not heard from your friend, but please take your time and let me know as soon as you're both ready for the deal. I can't believe he lied like that. So Manuel replied, this is really worrying. Merton is not usually silent like this. I hope he's okay. Please continue to try contacting him. I will do the same. Which allowed Merton to complain to the scammer, saying, look, Evan, you're going to have to tell Manuel to back off. He won't stop emailing me his daft questions. Tell him the deal's off. Then we can get on with business without this interruption. So, did the scammer tell Manuel the deal was off? Nope. He wrote to Manuel saying, please relax as we have more than enough time to kickstart the process. Contrary to my earlier plan, a technical problem just came up here, meaning we may not be able to start the transaction, but until 1 or 2 months to come. My friend, I am sorry, but with what just happened, we will end up having a problem midway, if we don't wait for the coast to clear. So please don't worry about your friend Merton, but in case you finally reach him, tell him to exercise patience, that I will come back to you guys when we're ready to start the project. Of course, he's trying to keep Manuel on the back burner so he can scam him when he's finished scamming Merton, or so he thinks. He wrote back to Merton saying, bello is what I just sent your friend. I believe he will not bother you anymore. Please send the details as requested so our lawyer can start operations, since we don't have much time to waste any more, please. Merton replied,
Thanks, Evans, I knew I could rely on you. Do you want me to contact your lawyer directly with the details? What's his email address? I could get my own legal guy to handle it now I think about it.
He said, I think the lawyer we have here and who knows it all can handle it alone. Your lawyer there, I think, can come in as soon as the funds get there. We process the payment here, and just before the funds hit your account, i.e. never, we can let your lawyer know so he guides us legally, especially on the necessary investment plans to embark on. So Merton replied,
OK, I'll get my brief John on copy now. We can get this moving. John, I'm a bit tied up with a job in Hatton Garden this evening. Could you do the honours and pick up the paperwork with Evan?
The John in question is John Barossa, or more specifically another of my Scambaiting email accounts, which I named after the fake identity of a real scammer from a previous episode. John Barossa now wrote to the scammer saying,
Merton has requested my assistance with some business he's planning to transact with you. I will be happy to assist with this. Please just let me know what it is you need. I would also be grateful if you would bring me up to speed with a quick summary of the business at hand.
This forced the scammer to start right at the beginning again and explain the whole scam to John Barossa. Now, granted, he's only pasting in a standard template email here, but hopefully it's still a little bit frustrating that we made him reset and start over. But there was a problem, as John Barossa was quick to explain.
I appreciate the urgency of this matter. However, due to the international nature of this business, I shall not be able to handle this personally. Please would you be kind enough to contact my colleague and partner, Derek Bentleby, who takes charge of all of our overseas work. I only handle domestic matters.
The scammer had already sent another copy of the same template explanation to John Barossa, so just to mix things up, John sent the scammer a different instruction, saying,
I regret that I am unable to deal with your query at present due to personal circumstances beyond my control. Please would you contact my personal assistant, Monica Flange, who will be happy to assist in my stead.
Now, Monica Flange is yet another of my Scambaiting identities, but just to be extra unhelpful, I, that is John Barossa, didn't even give the scammer Monica's email address. Later, Derek Bentleby, who's of course another of my Scambaiting identities, replied to the scammer to say,
My sincere apologies for not having replied to you earlier. I'm afraid I was tied up with a rather sensitive case that wholly demanded my attention, and I've only just now caught up on my emails. My partner, John Barossa, is not currently available to fill me in on the details of the matter at hand. I wonder if you would be so kind as to write a few brief lines to summarize the services I may provide. This initial conversation will be free of charge.
This forced the scammer to start the whole explanation again, which he did by means of his pasted-in template message. Derek Bentleby replied,
If I understand you correctly, this is just a request for authorized sharing of client information. If so, I'm not very sure why my partner John Barossa would have delegated this matter to me. It seems straightforward enough to have been handled by his personal assistant, who has direct access to the client files. It would in practice be more difficult for me to serve your request than for John's PA. Also, it would be necessary for me to charge for the service were I to handle it personally. Perhaps you would be so kind as to query this with Mr. Barossa before we proceed. John, can we just get Monica to handle this?
And that little runaround was just about enough to cause the scammer to pretty much melt down. We'll have a look at that detail in a moment after this short break to answer one of your frequently asked questions. Today's question is, can I send you scam emails so you can bait them? Initially, my answer to this question was maybe. Then it was yes, but sadly now it has to be a firm no, for two reasons. First, I have so many scam emails in my own mailbox, I just don't need any more. If you want to know why I have so many, or in fact the answer to many different questions, there are FAQ links about that in the video description. But also, during the time I was accepting donor scams from viewers, it became clear that some of these were not from scammers. They were from people trying to play me. I don't know what their motive was, maybe just to have a little fun, but judging by the anger of a few of them when I made it clear I knew they were not a real scammer, I can only imagine they set out to let me publish a video which they would then reveal as an embarrassment to me. And that would just be wasted time for me that I could otherwise spend making content. And so, whilst I realise and acknowledge that the majority of offers were certainly earnest and helpful, I've had to impose a blanket policy of not accepting second-hand scams. Anyway, back to the scam baiting. So just to recap, Manuel had asked assistance from Merton, who'd brought in John Barossa, who'd handed off to Derek Bentleby, who had delegated to Monica Flange. All of whom were just my various different scam-baiting identities, and as I hinted earlier, this made the scammer melt down. He wrote to Merton with a subject line, sorry, things are not done this way, saying, forgive me to say that I'm not at all comfortable with the way this whole transaction is beginning to go. I advise you to leave the lawyers out of this for now, since we already have one here who understands, and already handling the process, but you insisted I contact Mr. John Barossa, which I did, all to please you. Now it is no more John Barossa, but he is advising me again to contact another lawyer, Derek Bentleby, and once again I should contact his personal assistant, Monica Flange, but how and why? No, deals of this nature are not done that way, my friend. as you are already giving out unnecessary publicity to it even before the transfer is done. This I am not comfortable with, and if I may ask, what is your fear in this whole issue? Is it how to handle the money when it gets there or how to receive it? I ask these questions because I am in the system and all we do here is give grants, i.e. sending funds to beneficiaries. If you are scared handling the $10 million at once, we can advise the bank to pay it piecemeal, and by that nobody will be suspicious. Aside that, don't forget that as soon as the processing is done and funds hit your account, I will fly there to join you. It will not be just you, but you and I will sit with your lawyers to discuss on the investments. But certainly not now, please, and again, leave the lawyers out of this for now and send the requested details. My lawyer here needs to start off necessary processing, please. I am involved and wouldn't do anything that will expose you, nor expose the funds to any form of risks. If you're confused what to do, just send the details and leave the rest to me, as I will guide you. Merton, however, is not a man to be pushed around like this, so he said,
You don't know me, so let me make this clear. When someone says they'll do something for me, I expect them to get it done. I don't expect to just hear excuses and passing blame to others. Now, I don't know why you're finding this hard. Frankly, I don't see why I should even care. Talk to whoever you need to, get the job done. And just a piece of friendly advice. Don't ever tell me you think I'm scared. The last person who called me a coward didn't get a chance to say it the second time.
The scammer softened a bit and said, I don't understand why you're now so angry with me. But put yourself in my shoes. I, from the beginning, explained how this deal is and what is involved. Deals do happen every day, and ours is not exceptional. But for it to be successful, there must be a high level of confidentiality. Not only did you pass me over to your lawyer, which in reality is not out of place, but for your lawyer to push me to one Derek Bentleby, and then again to his personal assistant, Monica Flange, is not a good one, my friend. This is a deal that needs less people involved. It needs high level of confidentiality. I apologise if the word scared angered you, but believe me, you're taking it the other way, as that is not what I meant. I said I would do something and that I am ready to do, but cannot do it without your support. Give me the chance to do my part by sending the needed details so we start the necessary transfer processing. It's not a one-way thing, but you and I need to work together to make it work, my brother. Again, I'm sorry if you don't like the tone of my last message. I'm not here for troubles, but for us to work out this deal successfully and then go into a long-term partnership. This is all I ask for. Well, that's heartwarming, isn't it? Not the apology. I mean the fact that the scammer is now way off script and is having to waste his time writing out emails in full from scratch. Merton replied,
Your attitude's a little better, but I'm still seeing the same excuses here. I suggest you go ahead and speak with the assigned people rather than creating further problems.
The scammer said, You're a very funny guy, Mr. Mert. Me creating problems for protecting what is mine? All I want is to be sure that this money is going into the right hands and not being exposed unnecessarily. Mr. John Warosa promised to direct me to his personal assistant, Monica Flange, and I am yet to hear from him, nor Miss Monica. So how do I contact or speak with the assigned people if I don't get her contacts? Do please speed up the transaction, as I am waiting. Merton snapped back,
There is nothing funny here, and I don't really understand why you're coming back to me again with excuses. Why are you asking me for contact details from Miss Flange? I don't know her. You're starting to give me serious doubts that you have the competence to handle this.
The scammer replied, The content of my last message was very clear, and I wonder why you're turning all I say the other way. Yeah, I wonder. I never asked you for Miss Monica's contacts, but all I said was Mr. John Warosa promised to send her contacts to me. Forgive me, but I should really be the one to doubt you have the competence to handle this transaction with your present attitude. Otherwise, what is there for you to send us the necessary details to draw up an agreement and commence the transaction? I sincerely still want to do it with you, but if you are no more interested, please do let me know so I look elsewhere. Mert replied,
Why are we still talking about this? I think it's pretty clear what you have to do.
So, what would the scammer do next? Go back to John or one of the other characters to try to continue on? Nope. What he actually tried to do was start over with Manuel. Now, whilst the other conversations with the scammer and my various characters had been ongoing, Manuel had also been continuing to have a friendly conversation with the scammer, offering to help but being kept at arm's length. We'll wind back just a little bit now to catch up with that. So in response to the scammer saying Manuel would have to wait 2 months, Manuel had replied, I'm so sorry to hear about that. Is there anything I can help with? What actually happened? There seemed to be quite some urgency at the start, so I'm surprised things have come to a halt for months. This forced the scammer to make up a story which went like this. Thanks so much for your kind email, and thanks for your understanding. Of course I was in a haste to handle and conclude this transaction, and this funds transferred into your bank account, but something unexpected came up yesterday. The government just reshuffled our office, putting a particular director who is now in charge of one of the departments where I will process this payment. Of course the fact remains that if I still want to go on with it, I can, but it will cost me additional money, as the director will insist on me giving him some cash before he will allow me to handle the file in that office, and believe me, I don't have extra cash for that. I therefore decided to wait till the next 2 to 3 months, when they will reshuffle us again for us to start. You can't imagine how sad I am now delaying this transfer, my friend, but it's because I don't have enough cash to first settle the new director posted here. I regret the disappointments, my friend, as I never planned it that way, but it's due to the sudden and unexpected changes by the government which just happened. Manuel had replied, I have to say that most of that explanation confused me a bit, but I suppose I have to trust that you know what you're doing. Please be rest assured of my support whenever you need it. To which the scammer replied, thanks again for your kind-heartedness. I have no doubt that bringing this deal to you was the best thing I've done, knowing that I can perfectly trust and rely on you to get my share after the transfer. Again, we don't need to involve your friend or any other persons at this point. I am serious about this, my friend. At the right time, and if need be, I will let you know when to get him involved, but for now, please completely leave things out for me and I will keep you posted. Isn't that lovely? Manuel said, many thanks. If there's any way I can assist, perhaps a conversation with the director, I will be happy to do so. And now we're caught up to the approximate point of where the meltdown happened, which is also the point where the scammer gave up on Merton, John, Derek and Monica and began to pin his hopes back on Manuel. He said, I sincerely can't thank you enough for your understanding and cooperation. Contrary to my earlier thinking, I'm glad to inform you that things are perfectly working out here already. I've already approached the director and the negotiation is in progress and working out perfectly well. We'll keep you posted, my friend. However, at this point, I must say I need your favour. This transaction is a sensitive deal that needs a high level of confidentiality. I want to inform you that I'm not comfortable at all with you involving any other third party in this deal. I strictly want to do it with you and no other person, please. In other words, I don't want you informing or getting John or any other third party involved. I understand that he's your reliable friend, but I don't want him involved, please. By the nature of my job here, what we do is give grants, and these grants involve sending funds both locally and internationally to investors. You don't need much involved, as all the processing will be done here. If receiving the $10 million USD at once is your problem, we can advise the sending bank to pay it piecemeal, i.e. bit by bit. Don't forget that as soon as the processing is completed and the bank is ready to transfer the funds, I will fly down there to join you. With my presence, we can both sit and plan how to receive it bit by bit without crossing any of the laws of the authority. You are not alone in this. Mind you that I am fully involved and will not get you involved if there is any sort of risks this will expose us to. I guarantee you that this is risk-free and you don't have anything to fear. I therefore need you to reassure me that you and I can do this alone without John or any other third party involved. Manuel said, I think I understand you. But who's John? The scammer had of course been referring to John Warosa, I'm pretty sure, but Manuel's question forced him to make up an explanation which went, sorry, in our proverbial adage we use the name John, which could mean any other name or any other person's. It could mean David, Martins, Peter, Paul or any other name. Sorry if I confuse you with that, since you don't use such there like we do here. So have you accepted to do it with me and alone? Manuel replied, this is very confusing. I don't know any of those people. Except Peter. I do know someone called Peter, but I didn't expect you would know him too. 2 days passed, and honestly I thought the scammer had just given up. Then he emailed me, Manuel. I am happy to come back to you confirming that things are going our way here. While we expect final clearance from the director, I do advise that you send your full contact details, i.e. your direct telephone numbers, your contact address, and possibly a bank account detail where the funds can be transferred. Manuel replied, this is great news. I thought we might have been waiting for months as you initially feared, but I am delighted to hear things are moving again now. We will need to get my friend Merton to help, as we discussed earlier. I've copied him in on this message. Which allowed Merton to angrily respond, only to the scammer.
What's the meaning of this? We agreed to keep Manuel out of this.
The scammer was pretty much done with Merton, though, and responded, sorry, I must be very clear with you. We're talking here of a whooping sum of $10 million USD, and a sum that may never come my way again if I lose this opportunity I have. I'm not at all comfortable with the pattern you and your friends are taking me through. I told you of all involved and how I want it done. You rather threw me to your lawyers, who knew nothing about the whole plans and are even talking to me about legal charges. So please note that if you and I must do this together, there must be changes in your attitude towards this deal. It has to be between you and I alone, and no lawyer or friend tossing me up and down. I am sorry, but that's how it is. If you're still interested, we can go on. But you need to send your details now. The scammer also wrote to Manuel saying, I am highly disappointed at you. I told you very clearly I want to do this business with you and with you alone, but your present attitude is only saying that you are either not ready or not capable of doing this deal with me. Otherwise, how do we interpret this? Again, I restate that I do not want any Merton or any friend involved in this business now. I made this very clear in my previous emails to you. If you cannot do it alone with me, sorry, I might have to look elsewhere. Do please reconfirm your stand and your readiness to transact this deal with me, so I know if we're moving forward or not. So Manuel replied, okay, let's start again. There is one point I need to make clear to you before we proceed. That is, I am John Barossa.
I am John Barossa.
No, I am John Barossa.
No, I am John Barossa.
Actually, it's Warosa, not Barossa.
Now, ordinarily, this would be the end of the conversation with the scammer. Once I make it clear that I know it's a scam, they normally drop all further contact and the game is over. But this one had a couple more things to say. So are you Manuel, or are you John Barossa? But what kind of games are you guys playing with me? If you're not interested in this deal, why waste my time for crying out loud? Manuel allowed Merton to respond to that, asking,
It's amazing to me that you still persist in claiming or implying that you know what you have. As if any of this was ever more than a very transparent and obvious advance fee scam. I want to understand why you do that. Does it comfort your conscience or something? Does it make you feel like you're not a criminal?
The scammer just replied to Manuel, you've just lost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Too bad for you. And to Merton, it's obvious that you are so naive and ignorant and know not what happens and how the who is who are made. Tagging this as advance fee fraud is quite unfortunate. I can't, however, remember asking you to support me with $1 as far as the execution is concerned. Anyway, your actions came timely. Good riddance to bad rubbish, they will say. I have sincerely moved on and will send you some money for your time so far when I am done. Have a nice day, my friend. Well, I don't think the scammer's going to back down from this strangely defiant position, so I just left it there. And that marks the end of this little adventure. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.